Welcome to the Daily Dharma, a gentle podcast where we read a philosophical story every week and reflect on how it relates to everyday life. Our focus is to use Buddhist philosophy to understand the complexity of modern life and find achievable and accessible pathways to peace. Hi everyone, welcome to the Daily Dharma. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how we can learn to find our spirit. The story that we'll be reflecting on this theme is called Say Yes to Everything, and it comes from the book Zen Stories with Master Seiji by Daiki Shimada. Here is how the story goes. Seiji was lending a hand at a friend's restaurant, unloading and carrying in supplies due to the sudden absence of a helper. Amid the bustle of boxes and the clamor of the kitchen, the restaurant owner, a longtime friend of Seiji, couldn't help but ask during a brief pause, "Why are you always so calm and balanced, even though there are tons of problems around?" he asked. Seiji, setting down a box of vegetables with care, replied, "Well, I start by accepting everything that happens and saying yes to it." The friend, puzzled, asked some more questions. "But if you say yes to everything, doesn't that make life unmanageable? It seems like that would only invite more problems." Seiji smiled, picking up another box, but pausing to explain. "My yes doesn't mean blindly following or nodding along. It means first accepting and acknowledging, then finding an appropriate way to navigate that reality, problem, or situation. It's about being free and shaping what follows." The friend chuckled, shaking his head as he watched Seiji move with unruffled ease among the kitchen chaos. "Ah, Seiji, it's always a pleasure to see your perspective on things. You surprise me anew each time." There's something magnificent about Seiji's approach to a lot of these life situations, including the one that we just read about, which is how he kept his deep sense of peace in the hustle and bustle of a modern restaurant. But I think something that he only hints at and something that we don't really get to see is really the journey of how he got there. But the valuable thing is that he gives us hints. And for me in this story, it was the way he said, by shaping the things that are. And that shaping is almost everything, because something that is really powerful is our own ability to actually shape the way that we see our lives and the way that we carry ourselves from our day to day. And when we look even deeper, there is something called the spirit that is essentially something that you can't touch, that you can't necessarily fix or weigh with physical medicines or even intellectual or cognitive medicines, but it is something greater that can be opened up to let in all this energy and sense of connection and love with the universe. And the interesting thing is, I think that the spirit is often the thing that is actually missing when a lot of people are looking for spiritual development. And This is pretty common in modern life because, kind of like the scene of a restaurant, there's so much activity. You're getting that promotion, you're getting all your material needs met, and even cognitively, you feel like you're being positively challenged, or you have so much stuff going on that your brain is so active, but your heart feels empty. Something is missing. And I think this is very much a malady of modern life and maybe of all life, because it's so easy to work on the things that we can easily put to words or we can see with our own two eyes. But it's very hard to even point out what's missing when it's invisible, but yet it shapes everything in our lives. To me, the spirit represents that sense of deep connection with our lives and the universe. And that's something that can be cultivated in so many ways. But when it's missing, when it feels feeble and weak, that's where we start to feel this intangible emptiness. We know something is missing, but we can't put a finger on what it is. And I think when Seiji in this story says, I say yes to everything and I allow things to happen in a way that makes sense for me, I think that openness really is the key to letting in the spirit and allowing your own inner spirit to develop. Because, at least in my life, the times where my spirit are the strongest are the times where, for example, I'm able to really feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose in life by helping other people or being of assistance to my friends, or in simply having integrity and honesty in situations where it would have been much easier not to do so. I think the spirit is so intangible, but it is so important because even in the most dark and difficult moments of your life, your spirit can be a light that shines hope within you. And at least for me, it's been that beacon of light multiple times, even when there may have been no physical or cognitive evidence that things will get better. But my spirit persists because there's just so much energy there that it's willing to believe. It makes me willing to believe that something can change, or even if things don't change, I'll have the strength to accept things as they are and to move through things even with pain and even with difficulty. I think the thing is that cultivating the spirit is not really about one big step, but a million little steps every day. And it's about allowing ourselves to say yes to different things and to be open to enjoying the sun on your skin, to be open to just waving back at when little kids are waving to random people in a car or bus and just choosing to wave back. It could be in small moments like, seeing someone in need and just helping them across the road. I think openness towards others is very much the key to allowing the spirit to breathe and to flow. And every little connection we make with other people, with nature, with even ourselves, all these connections are really the gateway to fueling this spirit, which is really our sense of connection with ourselves and all those beings around us. And when the spirit is strong, it is a beacon of light for our mind and our body. And when it's missing, it's almost like we look like we're living the perfect life on the outside. Everything looks like it's in place, but it feels empty. I think there's so many also what I like and also dislike about the talk of the spirit is I do think that there is a sense of overcomplicating things. Spirit is not necessarily something that we have to meditate for 30 years to achieve. Of course, meditation will absolutely help you, but spirit can be found in those normal, everyday moments. It can be cultivated in very simple and accessible ways, but it requires that vulnerability of openness, the openness to warmth, to connection, to joy, to seeing the good in the world and in others and in yourself. That to me, at least in my experience, has been the greatest fuel for the spirit. And these are things that can be found and practiced every day in our regular old lives. And to me, that is very much the foundation of the spirit and something that will give us strength and perspective and guide us in times of deep struggle and pain. And ultimately, the strong spirit is what helps us find that integral meaning, even when things are messy and difficult and dark. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you have a beautiful, safe, and joyful week ahead of you. And if you have any thoughts or questions you'd like to share, please email me anytime at dailydharmapodcast@gmail.com. Until next week.